I can dig caves, but I don't need a shovel to do it. I store silver and gold in these caves. I can build bridges, and I can make golden crowns. Everyone needs me at least once in a lifetime, but most people are scared of me. Who am I? I'm a dentist. The mystery of growth. When Mike was 15 years old, he hammered a nail into a cherry tree in his grandmother's garden. He wanted to mark his height. 10 years later, he returned to see if the nail was any higher. If the tree grew 1 inch taller each year, how much higher would the nail be? The nail's position wouldn't change. Trees grow at their top. An orange riddle. Jenny was locked inside a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and everyone inside. To do it, they didn't need to turn their heads or bodies or move in any way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it, but how? She put the orange on one person's head. Which one is more expensive? Eric went to the supermarket and took 2 oranges and 1 watermelon. They cost him $6. Helen went to the same supermarket. She opted for a lemon, an orange, and a watermelon. The girl paid $8. Oranges, lemons, and watermelons have different prices per piece. What's more expensive, an orange or a lemon? Eric had 2 oranges and a watermelon, which cost him $6. These 2 kinds of fruit have different prices, so it can't be 2 plus 2 plus 2. The only other combination is 1 plus 1 plus 4. Then, a watermelon costs $4. Helen paid $4 for the watermelon and $1 for the orange. It means the lemon cost her $3, which makes it more expensive than the orange. The worried wife. Jason got into a car accident and lost his memory. When he came around in his hospital room, he saw 3 young women near his bed, but the man couldn't remember who they were. Each of them claimed to be his wife. The doctor told him Jason had to stay in the hospital for at least 1 more week. "Sweetheart, what am I supposed to do if you never remember me?" The woman on the left was sobbing bitterly. "Honey, I'm so worried. Let's go home. I don't like it here. I'll take better care of you at home," the one in the middle exclaimed. The girl on the right was furious. "They're trying to steal you from me. Let's leave this place right away." Which lady is the man's wife? She's the one on the left. She's the only one who's worried. The other 2 want to take Jason away from the hospital, but he's injured and needs medical care. The inheritance. Jim's uncle Archibald was a wealthy man who loved playing pranks on his relatives. That's why, when he passed away, no one could find his will. But one day, a few years later, Jim was looking through some old papers. Suddenly, his breath caught in his throat. The document he was holding was his uncle's will. It read, "I hid all my money and other valuables at 3 p.m. sharp under my favorite cherry tree, right where its shadow ends. The one who digs it out will be my heir." Jim was beyond happy. He was going to be wealthy. He drove to his uncle's posh villa and found the cherry tree. He waited till 3 p.m. and started to dig. But try as he might, his efforts didn't pay off. Confused and upset, he had to return home. Why didn't he find anything? It's been several years since Jim's uncle hid his valuables. The tree has grown taller, and its shadow has become longer too. Who's poor? These two girls are putting on their makeup and getting ready to go out and have fun. They're using pretty much the same things: lipsticks, cosmetics, clothes. Their phones look similar too. But one of these girls is poor. Who is it? Take a closer look at the girl on the left. Her phone gives her away. It's an obvious knockoff. But then again, she saves some money. She won't be poor for long. Who is it? Mark and Liza had been dating for 2 years. One day, the guy came to his girlfriend's house. He was going to propose to her. But when he made it there, he found Liza with another man. Mark was furious. The other guy got scared and rushed out of the house. Liza was shouting it was her brother, but Mark knew better. Unfortunately, he hadn't seen the guy's face clearly. When he ran outside, he saw 3 men. Which one is Liza's lover? It's the guy on the left. It's freezing outside, and the other 2 guys have red cheeks and noses. But the third guy's face is pale because he just left a warm house. A weird choice. Every day, Mark rides his bike to the railway station to get to the college. There are 2 stops near his home. One is a mile away from his house, and the other 2 miles away in the opposite direction. In the morning, he always gets on the train at the first stop, and in the afternoon, he gets off at the second. Why? Mark's home and the stations are on the hill, and this method allows the guy to ride his bike down without any effort. A money problem. A notorious criminal caught rich businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then, how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. A realization. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a boy painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh. But then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant they had mustaches on their faces as well. Wealthier grandfather. Aaron and his grandfather were very close. They spent a lot of time together and loved cracking detective riddles. Unfortunately, the elderly man passed away unexpectedly. His lawyer informed the relatives that the grandfather had hidden all his money, and he was a wealthy man. The one to find it would get all the inheritance. Aaron realized the grandfather wanted him to get everything. He ran to the elderly man's office and soon understood where to look for the money. Can you figure it out? There's a cross drawn on the picture with a fountain. That's the fountain from their garden. Aaron has to look for the money there. Trapped in a well. James was a famous detective who could crack even the trickiest mysteries. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old and deep, but luckily not filled with water. On the flip side, there was no way the detective could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Stolen documents. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It was on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to his friend's office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he'd spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason took his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse was invited to a party. It didn't take Ashton long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Real or fake? Paul decided to visit his elderly aunt he hadn't seen for several months. But when he got to her house, he saw 2 men wearing construction worker uniforms. They were moving out some furniture. "What are you doing here?" Paul asked. "Mrs. Sanders hired us to help her get rid of old furniture. We're from Pick and Carry Transport Company," one of the men answered. He sounded honest. But Paul was a smart guy. He felt there was something wrong about the whole situation. Suddenly, he realized the men were burglars. How did he understand it? There was no company van near his aunt's house, just a dark car with tinted windows. Plus, why were the men wearing construction worker uniforms if they were movers?
Welcome to Brightside U. You've got one more final before break, all riddles. Jot down your answers and we'll see what your score means at the end of the video. The university president's looking nervous. He gets to his office and opens the door. It's the end of the semester, and all the students are about to take their finals, except Intro to Geography. The teacher had to postpone that final for some reason. When he sits at his desk, he discovers that someone's been rummaging through his papers. They've stolen the physics final. How did they get in if the door and windows were closed? I'll give you 7 seconds for this one. That ventilation panel above the president's desk, it's been moved. Someone crawled all the way through there. Impressive. But who did it? To answer that, you need to solve a bunch of other riddles first. Then maybe you'll figure out the mystery at the end of the video. The president leaves his office and walks down the hall. There's a loud crack, and the power goes out all over the building. Someone must have flipped all the fuses. He heads down to the break room to see what's up. I mean, he's the president after all. Yep, someone's been messing around down here. There's 3 suspects in the room. The cleaner says somebody turned off the generator when he came in to clean. Rachel's a new transfer student. She says she totally got lost and ended up in here by accident. Simon's a junior. He has his phone in his hand. Says he was playing one of those video games where you have to find stuff. Which one of them shut off the power? Your 7 seconds starts now. It was Rachel. It's the end of the semester. She wouldn't have transferred right before finals. But why did she do it? Maybe she wanted to disrupt the physics final. He turns the power back on. Hungry. Probably a good time to grab a quick snack. When he gets to the cafeteria, there's a new problem waiting for him. Someone emptied a whole bag of sugar into a huge pot of soup. Which student was it? You have 7 seconds. All the suspects have bowls of soup in front of them. but one of them doesn't have a spoon, just a fork. He was never going to eat the soup. He knew it would taste disgusting. Just as the president finishes up his sandwich, he gets a text. It's from a professor. He needs help in his office ASAP. In the office are 3 students, standing around and looking guilty. The professor claims one of them graffitied the painting on his wall. Which one did it? You've got 7 seconds to figure it out. It's that one. She's covering her hands. There's probably some paint on her fingers that she's trying to hide from you. Next stop, the infamous physics exam. The president heads over to the exam room. Everything's quiet in there. Looks okay. All the students have their heads down, staring at their papers. But someone's cheating. The president can sense it somehow. Help him find the sneaky student. 7 seconds to scan the room. It's the guy with his legs crossed. Clever. He wrote the answers on his calf muscle. But where did he even get those answers? After a brief shakedown, he spills the beans. He got them from a friend. That hassle's over. Time for a coffee and a snack. A big one. But just then, a piercing beep smashes through the silence. The fire alarm! Oh, come on. Students file out of their classrooms, and the entire university has to be evacuated. The students are standing outside, looking at the building. No fire, no smoke even. The president gets a text from the alarm company. The alarm was triggered by a person, not a smoke detector. The president looks around. Time to round up the usual 4 suspects. Matt says he was in the bathroom when the alarm came on. Julia was taking the geography final. Clark and Lex were studying strange green meteorites together in the science lab. Which one of them is lying? You have 7 seconds starting now. It was Julia. The geography teacher postponed the final, remember? Why would she lie unless she had something to hide? Today's not really his day. Someone cut down a tree right in the middle of the quad. The caretaker saw 4 students hanging out under the tree this morning, and now it's gone. Time to interview the suspects. Emily says she's been in the library all day. Loads of people saw her. Sam claims he was in the cafeteria having some soup. Lewis was in the physics final. And Michael says he's been hitting the weights all day, trying to get buff for the beach. Who cut down the tree? Your 7 seconds starts now. It was obviously Sam. He said he was having some soup, but remember, if he had really been in the cafeteria, he would have mentioned the whole sugar thing. Plus, the president was in there and didn't see him. He's lying. On to the biology final. They've got a new teacher who's giving a unique type of final. The president sneaks in the back of the room. The teacher explains that she gave her students ficus seeds at the beginning of the semester. Whoever has the most beautiful ficus plant will get the highest grade. It's time to present the results. The students start to file into the classroom. Half of them are holding pots with beautiful green ficus trees. The other half have pots filled with plain old earth. No leaves, no nothing. The teacher says the students with empty pots all get an A. Why did the teacher do that? Solve this mystery in 7 seconds. Go! At the beginning of the semester, she gave everyone fake ficus seeds. The students who showed up with full-blooming plants must have bought a full-grown plant and stuck it in the pot. Ha! Busted! Last final of the day, philosophy. The young teacher is in there, waiting for all the students to take their seats. After that, he puts a bust of an ancient Greek philosopher on the table. The teacher says, "Write a short essay on the following topic: why this bust doesn't exist." The student with the most convincing argument gets an A, while everyone else gets a C. Huh, tough teacher. After an hour, the students hand in their papers. Most of them filled up the front and back, but one student only wrote 2 words, and she got the A. What did she write? I'll give you 7 seconds to figure it out. She wrote, "What bust?" The president heads outside again, this time for the parking lot. What? Someone took the tire right off of his car. How's he gonna get home? He still has a spare tire in his trunk, but the thieves took the bolts too. All 4 of them. What can he do? You have 7 seconds to come up with a plan. He needs to unscrew 1 bolt from each of the other 3 tires and attach them to the spare. Each tire now has 3 bolts. That'll be enough to get to the nearest service station. What an intense day. The president's ready to kick back for a few, but he gets another urgent text. There's broken glass all over the quad. Someone broke a window up there. The only 3 people around are a cook, a gardener, and a student. The cook says he's been boiling up a new soup for the last hour, since someone put sugar in the last one. The gardener admits he was up in a tree cutting branches. He saw a student break the glass. The student says he was studying in the library. I'll give you 7 seconds to figure out who's lying. The gardener's lying. How could he have been up in the tree? It had already been stolen. He broke the glass, probably just by accident. The day's finally over. The president heads over for the best tradition on campus, the post-finals party. It's in the basketball arena. There are lights, decorations, and even a DJ. Everyone's dressed up, looking relieved. Finals are over. The party goes all night, but around 4 a.m., someone accidentally slams the doors too hard, and it triggers the automatic locks. Everyone's trapped. The president can be the hero of the party. He just needs to find a way out, grab the spare keys from his office, and open the door from the outside. But how? One of the students, Eric, says he knows how to get out of the gym through a vent. The president looks at him, and his face goes red with anger. Why? Last riddle, 7 seconds. You can do it. Eric just gave himself away. He's obviously been in the ventilation shafts before, so it was probably him who stole the physics final. How did you do? Count up your correct answers, and let's see how you fared on your final exam. 0 to 3 points. Looks like you'll need to sign up for some classes over break. Keep watching Riddle videos. You'll get better in no time. 4 to 7 points. Solid B+, but I'm sure you can do better next time. 8 to 12 points? You nailed that final. Leave your books in your locker and enjoy your well-deserved vacation.